This is WFYI News Now. It's July 1st, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, the Indiana Department of Child Services reorganizes its agency. Indiana officials seek to execute a third death row inmate less than a year after the state ended its 15-year pause on capital punishment. And an Ascension St. Vincent site in Carmel lets mothers purchase and drop off human breast milk.
So science estimates that between 60 and 70% of women who give birth prematurely will have issues with their milk coming in. So oftentimes these moms are under very high stress situations, which will impact their milk supply.
Those stories coming up. But first, the Indianapolis Vision Zero Task Force has released an initial plan to make the city safer for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. Samantha Horton reports the proposal comes after months of community feedback.
The plan doesn't include any immediate action for specific roadways or intersections, but creates a list of priority areas the task force will address. Those include standardized data collection and analysis, updating traffic enforcement policies, and continued community engagement. Task Force Chairman John Barth says it's just the beginning.
All that we've been getting here through slogging through data and looking at best practices, and now we have to do the hard work of turning the volume up.
The original deadline for an approved plan was by the start of July, but Barth delayed the formal adoption until later this year. The public can comment on the proposed plan starting July 1st. I'm Samantha Horton.
The Indiana Department of Child Services is undergoing what it calls a transformational reorganization of its agency. Brandon Smith reports up to 40 middle and upper management positions could be eliminated as the agency says it aims to devote more resources to frontline services.
DCS previously had 18 regions, each with a bureaucratic structure. Project Awaken, as the agency has dubbed its redesign, will condense those down to 5 regions. Multiple layers of middle and upper management will also be eliminated. The agency says that will allow regional directors and child welfare attorneys to have more direct access to both executive leadership and frontline family case managers. At least some management staff being eliminated are being offered reassignment to lower-level positions. DCS says the reorganization will direct between $4 and $8 million to frontline services. I'm Brandon Smith at the State House.
Indiana officials seek to execute a third death row inmate less than a year after the state ended its 15-year pause on capital punishment. The Indiana Attorney General's office requested an execution date for 52-year-old Roy Lee Ward late last week. In 2007, Ward was convicted for the rape and murder of a 15-year-old girl in southern Indiana. He's one of 6 men still on death row in the state. Indiana ended its hiatus on capital punishment with the execution of Joseph Corcoran in December 2024 and Benjamin Ritchie in May 2025. State spending has exceeded $1 million for 4 doses of the lethal injection drug pentobarbital, half of which expired according to our reporting partners, the Indiana Capitol Chronicle. It is up to the Indiana Supreme Court to decide whether or not to set the execution date. And for our final story today, mothers are now able to purchase and drop off donated human breast milk at an Ascension St. Vincent site in Carmel. Ben Thorpe reports the site, which opened Monday, is supported through a grant from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to reduce infant mortality.
The Milk Depot and Milk Express at Ascension St. Vincent in Carmel works in tandem with the Milk Bank, a nonprofit that collects breast milk for pasteurization before sending it back to the hospital for use. Lindsay McGuire is with the Milk Bank. She says donated milk is particularly important for babies in the neonatal intensive care unit.
So science estimates that between 60 and 70% of women who give birth prematurely will have issues with their milk coming in. So oftentimes these moms are under very high stress situations, which will impact their milk supply.
McGuire says breast milk helps low birth weight babies avoid serious gastrointestinal diseases. The Milk Bank has other donation sites across Indianapolis. Those wishing to donate milk can visit the Milk Bank's website and apply to become a donor. I'm Ben Thorpe.
That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Daudelin and Zach Bundy, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.